Right now, you're breathing, and you're probably not thinking about whether the air is coming in through your nose or your mouth. Air is air, right? It all ends up in the same place, your lungs. But here's the surprising question. Does it actually matter which door the air comes through? Because your nose isn't just a hole for breathing, it's a sophisticated processing plant, and quietly routing around it every day and every night can change things deep inside you. Let's go in and see. First, let's be fair. Breathing through your mouth sometimes, during a hard workout, with a stuffy cold or in deep sleep, is normal. Your body expects it. What matters is the habit. Mouth breathing as your default setting, hour after hour, year after year. And before we go further, an honesty note. A lot of what you've seen online, especially the viral mouth taping trend, is running far ahead of what the science actually shows. So we'll do something different. Separate what researchers can demonstrate from what the internet is selling. It starts with one question. What does your nose do that your mouth simply can't? Here's the part almost nobody knows. Tucked into the bone around your nose are hollow, air-filled chambers called your sinuses, and their lining is doing something remarkable around the clock. It's constantly producing a gas called nitric oxide. Think of it as a built-in tune-up your nose adds to each breath. When you inhale through your nose, that gas travels with the air, down into your lungs, and it does real, measurable work. In healthy people, simply breathing through the nose instead of the mouth has been shown to raise blood oxygen levels by around 10%. In hospital studies, when doctors added this nose-made gas to patients' air, oxygen levels rose by nearly 20%, and the blood vessels in the lungs relaxed and opened up. Now picture the alternative. Breathe through your mouth, and you skip that tune-up entirely. The air rushes straight in, unimproved. Which leads to the next question. Is that gas the only thing your nose is quietly adding? Not even close. Your nose is also a heater, a humidifier, and an air filter, all built into one organ. As air winds through those narrow passages, the nose warms it toward body temperature and loads it with moisture until it's almost fully humidified. So by the time it reaches your delicate lungs, that air is warm, wet, and cleaner, instead of cold, dry, and dusty. On top of that, the nose traps particles and pollutants, catching them before they travel deep into your airways. Skip the nose, and your lungs get raw, unconditioned air. The difference between leaving a window wide open and running a proper air conditioner. And we can measure the cost. People who lose nasal breathing entirely can end up with thicker mucus, more coughing, and worse natural cleaning. So if the nose does all this, and the mouth doesn't, what happens over years? Surprisingly, it depends almost entirely on your age. In children, while the face is still actively growing, the route of breathing appears to shape the face itself. Here's the idea. A child who can't breathe well through the nose, often from enlarged adenoids, keeps the mouth open, drops the jaw, and lets the tongue sit low. Over years of growth, the face tends to develop longer and narrower, the jaw rotates down and back, and the dental arch can pinch inward. Doctors even have a name for this long-faced pattern. Adenoid facies. Worse, it can become a self-feeding cycle. A blocked nose leads to mouth breathing. Mouth breathing nudges the growing face in a direction that narrows the airway, and a narrower airway makes nose breathing even harder. But here's a crucial honesty note. These findings are associations. The studies pool large groups of children and find a consistent pattern, but you can't ethically force kids to breathe one way for years. So what we have is strong correlation, not airtight proof. Still, it raises the question everyone secretly wants answered. If this can reshape a child's face, is it doing the same thing to mine right now as an adult? And here's the answer that cuts straight against a mountain of internet hype. No, if you're an adult, mouth breathing is not reshaping your face. The reason is simple biology. Your facial bones finished growing years ago. The framework is set. The sutures are closed. The construction is done. So when you see an adult with that long, narrow look, what you're seeing is a historical record, a fingerprint of how they breathed as a child, not something happening now. The science on adult facial change is thin, and what little exists points to the adult face being stable, not deforming. So all those videos promising that taping your mouth shut will reshape your adult jawline. They're selling you a result the biology simply doesn't support. But that leaves a fair question. If your face is already locked in, does adult mouth breathing cause any real harm at all? The danger doesn't disappear. It moves somewhere else entirely. To the night. At night, an open mouth changes the shape of your airway. When your jaw drops and your tongue slides backward, the soft tissue behind it becomes more collapsible, like a flimsy straw caving in when you sip too hard. That makes breathing harder, and it can feed what doctors call sleep-disordered breathing, where the airway keeps narrowing or briefly closing during sleep. In children, this link is well documented and runs both ways. Mouth breathing can worsen sleep apnea, and sleep apnea keeps the mouth breathing going. To put a real number on it, in one group of mouth-breathing children sent for sleep testing, about 42% turned out to have obstructive sleep apnea. That's a referred clinic group, so higher than the general population, but striking. And in adults, the route still matters. Studies show the airway behaves measurably worse when air pressure leaks out through an open mouth during sleep. So the open mouth may not be reshaping your adult face, but it may be sabotaging your sleep, which brings the real question. Should you just tape your mouth shut? Here's the twist, the opposite of what your feed is telling you. Mouth taping does not have strong science behind it. When researchers gathered the actual studies and pooled them, the verdict was blunt. The evidence is insufficient to recommend it. The single study fans cite most often involved just 20 people, with no control group, a preliminary hint, not proof. The one genuinely solid trial that helped wasn't about taping alone. It was tape used to help people already on a CPAP machine stick with their treatment. And when mouth taping was tested for asthma in a proper trial, it found no benefit whatsoever. Worse, it can be dangerous. If your nose is blocked, often the exact reason a person mouth breathes, sealing the mouth shut removes your backup airway. Experts warn this can be life-threatening and could worsen undiagnosed sleep apnea. That's why no medical society endorses it. The trend skipped the science. So if tape isn't the answer, what is? The real answer is less exciting than a roll of tape. But it works. Don't force your mouth shut. Fix the reason it's open. If you're chronically congested, find out why. Allergies, a deviated septum, enlarged adenoids, sinus problems, these are real, treatable causes. Treating them lets nose breathing happen naturally. For children, this matters most because their faces are still growing. Persistent mouth breathing or loud snoring is worth a proper evaluation, not a strip of tape. And during the day, build awareness. Notice whether you're breathing through your nose and gently switch back. Often, that's enough. So, is air just air? Not quite. Your nose warms it, cleans it, humidifies it, and doses it with a gas that helps your lungs. The door your breath comes through matters more than almost anyone realizes. Subscribe and tell us where to go inside next.